Hi guys, good morning. I wanted to make this quick video, not because of anything going on in my life, but there's things going on, but for the most part, I'm okay. I had someone send me some encouraging words regarding my TED Talk or, my point of view on life and things and from my perspective. And it is something that I've always wanted to do, that I still am trying to do when I make these videos, is really just to try to figure out my niche on how to get out here, right? My biggest thing is to make sure I come across authentic and as real as possible because that's how I operate. Now, the reason for my post today is that this friend of mine that I follow on social media, he's also a childhood friend I grew up with. We grew up in the same neighborhood. Was the person who said that comment about me, looking forward to my TED Talk. And thank you, sweetie. That really like stuck with me for the rest of the night. But um, going back to what he was talking about on his post about the trauma, it would seem to be like a Jill Scott quote from what I gathered. But basically, the narrative is using your childhood trauma on why you haven't progressed in your healing. So I pointed out with my experience of what my challenges have been in my healing journey. Now, I've started my journey knowingly when I was about 26 years old. I don't know if I ever shared the story on social media, but I'm not going to go into it right now. But just on the snippet of that post, I'll kind of summarize my comment. My comment basically was saying I didn't have an identity of who I was until my friends and men showed me from their perspective or told me from their perspective. And I based who I was on their perspective. I didn't have anything else to pull from. I wasn't a child that was fed those kind of things of who I could be or couldn't be, or your grade, or motivating me in that. A lot of us didn't. I'm sure I'm not the only person. Um, so what I explained to him was, once I got to the point of understanding that, yeah, this might be true that I'm feisty. This might be true that I'm blunt. This might be true that I am no nonsense or what have you. There are elements and parts of me that are very soft and that are very sensitive. And I've been called that too. Some people have said I'm too sensitive or I'm too vocal and too much of this and too much of that. And you hear that constantly. That was something, you're always too much of something for somebody, right? So I'm saying that to say a lot of us are still living in the perspective of what other people told us. That is the point. A lot of us are living in the perspective of what our friends label us as and what our family label us as, and we act accordingly. And the sad part about that is people miss the opportunity to get to learn you because they're too stuck on what their perception is of you. They don't ask you questions. They don't try to engage to get to know you. And for me, I chose to share what I choose to share with who I share with. And even some of my friends today, I'm sure, agree that I'm very feisty, but they still don't know the softer side of me. They've never seen me really interact with a man. I have two children, I had two significant relationships, but who I am with those men and behind closed doors is a totally different person than what they see. I am still myself in regards, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but my delivery is different depending on who my audience is, right? So when he was talking about that, and I gave my 2 cents on it, I'm in a part of my life of learning who I am now. I am 42 years old. I've lived my life being feisty to some people. New people who don't know me think I'm bougie or stuck up or standoffish, mean. Um, I get labeled a lot of different things. And now I'm at a place in my life where I know who I am. Okay, I am a very sensitive person. I'm a very compassionate person. I'm a very empathetic person by default, to the point where I have put myself in a position to be less engaged with people because I my empathetic way, I pull from too many people's energies, and it's exhausting. And I definitely have to check myself sometimes when it comes to that. The reason why I decided to make this post, because then I seen something about a man saying that a friend of his, he felt like his friend who took his own life didn't show up for himself, and it hurt that friend. And as a person who still battles with those thoughts, I would say the friend that decided to take their life is the most courageous person. Some people may not agree with me when it comes to that, but until you are in the face of that kind of monster and You want to just be freed of your own pain, but you can't because you're bonded by the people that you love still breathing, and you choose to still live while you're in pain. That to me is not showing up for yourself. I'm in a position of learning how to show up for myself without taking my life, because I have to say that I got to believe that God has me here for a reason. I created environments for my life to be taken for years because I couldn't do it. The first two times I failed. So I felt that if I put the responsibility in someone else's hands, and I created myself or put myself in environments that are dangerous where I could potentially be taken out of this world, then problem solved, right? But God would not allow certain things to happen. Trust me when I tell you, I put myself in some really like, why was I in that situation? Why did I do that? And at the time, I wouldn't say that I was mindful of it. I think I was subconscious of it. Um, Part of it was for the moment, but during those situations, I was like, can it be today? Like, seriously. Because sometimes some people carry pain that is so heavy that you can't just shake it off. Definitely when you're constantly reminded of the things that you do not have. This is the problem that I have every day. Every single day, I have the same problem of being reminded of what I don't have. And for those of you who are thinking that it's material, it has nothing to do with material. It has everything to do with relationships. I don't have certain relationships. And I told my friend and my other friend, I have two proxies, so to speak. If something happens to me, those are the only two people that I trust with my life. When I came to that realization, it broke my heart. It hurt me to my core because at one point it used to be my daughter. And this is why I'm sharing this information, because I realized in having my painful thoughts of wanting to take my life and want to be free from my pain. And then I have to live and be reminded every day that your children are only going to be bothered with you to the level that they care for you. That takes me on to the other part on why I'm making this video today. I watched a woman feed her mom, and she had dementia, and she basically remembered that her daughter in that moment and started to cry, and the daughter, gave her comfort. It's like, mom, I got you, this and the third. And it hit me hard because I don't feel I will ever have that with my daughter anymore. I used to believe that wholeheartedly, but now I don't believe that because I don't trust her emotionally. I don't trust her with my life anymore, because depending on what influences she has will determine how she treats me. And that to me is not safe for me. This is part of my childhood trauma. This is why I'm saying to you, people, it shows up in so many different ways. Your trauma. Sometimes it's not just as simple how your moms talk to you, or what your mom said about you, or what your dad didn't do, or whatever. Sometimes it's as simple as someone making you feel unsafe. So a lot of the times when people see me feisty, and this is just the people who think they know me out here in the social media world and people who know me personally, people who think they know me, let me educate you on something. If you only know me on my feisty side, that means I didn't trust you. Okay? If you never seen me emotional, if you never seen me have a deep talk with you, I don't trust you. Never did trust you. So please take that to the bank for what that's worth. Um, the people that I've trusted with my life, at some point or another, I have confided in. And I don't know if those people understand how significant that was for me, because a lot of those people I don't no longer have relationships with. And then I had to deal with that. So when I tell you, people who are trying to heal from their childhood trauma, sometimes you're constantly reminded, and your childhood trauma re-shows up in your life constantly. What I've learned in my relationships, that was hard to accept, is that I'm not a priority. And it doesn't mean that people hate me. It doesn't mean that people don't like me. It doesn't mean that people don't love me. I'm just not a priority. And what I'm trying to help people understand, in my childhood and in my bringing up, I wasn't a priority. So when I'm trying to form relationships with people and then I realize I'm not a priority, I'm revisited about that pain as a kid and growing up without being known or being treated as a priority. And I don't think it's healthy that I've grown attached to certain people at certain parts of my life. And then I had to learn to be without those people. So right now in the space I'm in, even though I have these two proxies, do you know what always lingers over my head? Now these two people I've known the longest, my whole life, 30 plus years. And even with these two people, I have to have a backup. Do you know who my backup has to be? A stranger. I have to hire a lawyer with what I would like, just in case the time for me to be a priority to either one of these friends of mine, and I can't be for them because of what they have that are priorities in their life. That is my reality every single day. So when you tell a person, stop using your trauma comes up every day. So those of you who get reminded of your trauma every day, what I would like for you to do, cry through it, feel it, identify it, and then once you identify it, you find the alternative. Because if you don't find an alternative, you be sitting in a constant cycle. My tears are because it's sad to me. I don't think anybody chooses this for their life, but this is my life. Like, this is real life. This is not social media. I'm not doing this for or saying this for attention. I don't know what people be thinking when I post stuff, but it's therapeutic for me. This is what helps me not go into my dark places. This is what helps me help somebody else who can't identify when their trauma is showing up in their life, right? So for me, when I create relationships, and why it's hard for me to do so, because I'm always afraid that I'm never going to be a priority to somebody. It's the same way I look at relationships and love with trying to be with someone. I have to feel safe. And now that I have had the experience with friendships where I felt safe and I allowed my guard to go down, and now I don't have those relationships anymore, it was a whole thing I had to go through to heal myself, to understand it wasn't me. Those people were seasonal people, although they're beautiful people. It just was no longer our time to have to maintain those relationships. Even the relationships that I have with the my oldest friends, we had a long gap of not being close, so to speak, where they didn't know a lot about me because I've been used to doing things all by myself. And in this energy with hearing this young man from my childhood, you know, engaged by my life and my perspective on my life, um, it's hard because he's not the only person that had a young lady here that I was in a shelter with my daughter, who had the same sentiment towards me. Um, I don't hear it very much from other people, but when I do hear it, I need people to understand that means a lot to me. That some people see me, and sometimes the people who are closest to you don't see you. Um, the way my heart is set up, I would love to be a different type of person, but I don't meet people that make me feel safe to do that. Um, my relationships I have with my kids' fathers, although I feel like they love me, but they love me on the level of what they understood and what they can get or what they felt and they can receive out of that situation. Because I was honest with both of them. Definitely the first one. I knew that I was a broken individual. I didn't hide that from anybody. So I'm saying all this to say about those whose trauma show up in their lives in ways that sometimes you don't even realize is triggering. You have to identify it first. You have to know what that trigger is. If I didn't understand that, me not feeling like a priority, if me doing my work and understanding like I harbored so many feelings in how I interact with people because of my fear, because I allow one person here or a family here to accept me. And the minute that I'm no longer of use to them, and I use that term loosely because I don't know, sometimes relationships are strained because of other people. All I'm saying is, for me personally, I had to take a big girl pill and not stop taking everything so personal. Sometimes it's not about you guys. Sometimes when your trauma show up to you, it's another level to help you heal from that thing. So although I'm not ecstatic about having to find a stranger to finalize my life, you know, put my life on paper and tell this person what to tell the last few people who will be in my life when that time comes, on what to do with my final arrangements. That's my reality. It's painful. It's painful. I can't sit here and tell you that it's not. Just because I'm aware of it, just because I know what it is, it has a name, it doesn't change that not what I want for my life. Do I know how to fix that? No, I don't. I try. I can only, you can't just go around pouring your heart out to people, because some people don't have the best intentions for you. So you just never know another person's intentions. You just got to trust who God puts in your life when He puts them in your life, and accept and appreciate the time that you get. Learn what you need to learn about yourself, learn what you need to learn about relationships. And then when that time is ended, then you have to be ready to let it go. And I think that's what God is preparing me for. Like, you've done this already, sweetheart. You already know what it's like to not be a priority. But learn what you need to learn. My mother didn't make me a priority, but I learned something from her. My godmother didn't make me a priority, but I learned something from her. My dad couldn't make me a priority, but I learned something from him and what I want in a man. My siblings couldn't make me a priority in their life. That made me understand what that relationship looks like for other people. Makes me value and share love, and be grateful that other people have that. It's just me, and this is my reality. And if it offends anyone at this point, I don't give a fuck. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm just saying this is my reality. If you want to contradict it, or if you want to say I'm a liar, please feel free. I At this point, I don't care. Um, but it's just something I need people to be a little bit more mindful, that just because it happened a long time ago, it still shows up in your life daily. You just have to make a choice to call it a name, identify what it is, and find a resolution to that issue. I'm still learning how to do that with certain things. This is one of those things. So I just want to come up here and get my 2 cents on it, because it was so heavy on my heart and I felt like it needed to be said. So I hope this helps somebody. Um, your trauma is going to always show up. You can't get out of it. You just have to learn to live with it and find another way to process it. That's all I can really do, because that's where I'm at right now. But y'all have a great Sunday. Take care.